Good morning. This is Don V with Truth Be Told, and we have a couple interesting stories we'd like to bring before you today. Without ado, let's go ahead and move right to them. First one is Psaki says Biden respects Olympic hammer thrower Gwen decision to turn her back on American flag. Yeah, I bet they do. Joe Biden has a lot of respect for the American-hating Olympic hammer thrower who turned her back on the American flag, says Jen Psaki. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki on Monday was asked about Gwen, the race activist who disrespected the U.S. on the world stage. Biden has great respect for the anthem, but also part of the pride that means respecting the right of people to peacefully protest, Psaki said. The Biden House backs the American-hating Olympian who turned her back on the U.S. flag as the national anthem played during the media's ceremony. Shame on her. Let's see what this skank's got to say.
This weekend, Gwen, who hopes to represent the United States as an Olympian on the hammer throwing events, won a bronze medal at the trials, and then she turned her back on the flag while the anthem played. Does President Biden think that is appropriate behavior for someone who hopes to represent Team USA?
Well, Peter, I haven't spoken to the president specifically about this, but I know he's incredibly proud to be an American and has great respect for the anthem and all that it represents, especially for our men and women serving in uniform all around the world. He would also say, of course, that part of that pride in our country means recognizing there are moments where we are, as a country, haven't lived up to our highest ideals, and it means respecting the right of people granted to them in the Constitution to peacefully protest.
I disagree with you 100%. The Biden WH gives support to Gwen turning her back on the national anthem during the track and field trials 21. While Jen Psaki hasn't spoken to Biden about her, she said, "Pride in America means respecting those who recognize when we haven't lived up to our highest ideals." Whatever. I think that woman needs to be thrown out of the Olympics myself. Okay, second story is John McAfee had a suicide note in his pocket when he was found hanging in prison. Of course he did. John McAfee, an eccentric software creator, was found dead in his prison cell in Spain last Thursday, an apparent suicide after Spanish courts reportedly agreed to extradite him to the U.S. McAfee was arrested in October 2020 at El Prat Airport in Barcelona at the request of the U.S. Justice Department. McAfee was accused of evading millions of dollars in taxes from money into crypto trading. According to the AP, John McAfee had a suicide note in his pocket when he was found hanging in a Spanish prison cell. Authorities in Spain are conducting an autopsy on McAfee's body, but have said that everything at the scene in his cell indicated the 75-year-old killed himself. An official source familiar with the investigation told the AP that a suicide note had been found in McAfee's pocket. The source, who was not authorized to speak about ongoing judicial inquiry, refused to comment on the content of the note. McAfee's Spanish lawyers, Javier Villalba, said that the family had not been informed by authorities about the note. Last Thursday, John McAfee's widow spoke to reporters. John McAfee blamed U.S. authorities for his death. John McAfee was not suicidal. I spoke with him a few hours before he was found dead. I blame the U.S. authorities for this tragedy because of these politically motivated charges against my husband is now dead. His last words to me were, "I love you and I will call you in the evening." These words are not the words of someone who is suicidal. All Joe wanted to do was spend his remaining years fishing and drinking. He did not deserve to die in a filthy prison like a caged animal. He would never quit this way. He would never take his life in this way. I don't believe he did this, and I will get answers, Janice told reporters last week. John McAfee previously warned the U.S. government was gunning for him. "If I suicide myself, I didn't. I was whacked. Check my right arm," McAfee said in November 2019 tweet with a photo of his whacked tattoo. There it is, and it says, getting subtle messages from U.S. officials saying, in effect, "We're coming to you, coming for you, McAfee. We're going to kill you. We're going to kill yourself. I got a tattoo today just in case. If I suicide myself, I didn't. I was whacked. Check my right arm. Oh, my word, my word. What is coming up with people nowadays? It's always something, isn't it? Any rate, moving on to California Democrats try to change recall laws to aid Gavin Newsom. Yeah, this commie's trying to get out of his recall. Democrats in California Legislature are taking steps to change the recall process in order to aid Governor Gavin Newsom at the polls, the AP reported. Democratic Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis can set an earlier election date if the state legislature removes legislative review, which would set an earlier voting date, potentially aiding the governor's current position in the race, the AP reported. Democrats previously lengthened the recall process when California State Senate Josh Newman faced a recall election in 2018, the AP reported. The election date was pushed back to coincide with the 2018 primary with the hope that higher turnout would aid the Democrat. Newman lost the recall, though he did regain his seat in 2020. They're trying to create a situation that is most favorable for the partisan outcome that they favor, Jack Citron, a political science professor at the University of California, Berkeley, told the AP. He noted that changing the calendar threatens to reinforce the narrative that politicians will do whatever they want to stay in power. Yeah, don't get me started. Joshua Spivak, a recall elections expert and senior fellow at the Hugh L. Carey Institute for Government Reform on Wagner College, said the effort would backfire by giving Democrats less time to motivate their voters, while Republicans have already gathered 1.7 million signatures to remove Newsom. Spivak pointed at Newsom's loss of proof of why Democrats should not mess with the schedule. That really suggested maybe we don't know what we're doing. You're playing with fire by doing that, Spivak told the AP. Democrats' rule changes failed to save Josh Newman from getting recalled 4 years ago, and voters aren't going to fall for their trickery now either, as they try and change the rules in hopes of saving Gavin Newsom, the California Republican Party wrote in a press release earlier this month. State Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, a potential recall contender, told the AP that Democrats were trying to ram through a new law. Katie Talbot, a spokesman for Speaker of the Assembly, Anthony Rendon, said the extra time was not needed to review the election costs because they had already been decided to reimburse counties for the election, although she did acknowledge their action would allow an earlier recall, according to the AP. The changes are set to be voted on Monday, according to the AP. Interesting. You know, this guy is going to do whatever he can to stay in power, but I think he's out of there. I was originally in California for all my years until I retired, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough. But from what I understand, Newsom has a new thing to where California is going to pay all the back rent for all these pathetic losers who didn't pay their rent. Now, I understand the ones that lost their jobs. That's fully understandable. But with the way unemployment is paying, you know, $800 a week on top of your normal unemployment, and they can't afford their rent, something's up. At any rate, this is Don V with Truth Be Told. Thank you for watching, and we are out of here.